Ethan Cole never expected his life to change because of a single notification. The 20-year-old student lived in a tiny apartment in Boston with overdue bills scattered across the kitchen table. Tuition payments were crushing him, his part-time bookstore job barely covered rent, and every morning felt like another countdown toward failure. One cold evening, while waiting for a bus in the rain, Ethan checked his banking app and nearly dropped his phone. Unknown deposit, $2,000. No sender. No explanation. Seconds later, another message appeared. Task number 1: leave a red marker beneath the third bench at Riverside Park before midnight. Do not speak to anyone. At first, Ethan assumed it was a scam, but the money was real. His empty bank account now held more money than he had seen in months. Curiosity defeated fear. Before midnight, he bought a cheap red marker and walked through the dark park. Fog drifted near the river, while weak streetlights flickered above the empty benches. He found the third bench and slid the marker underneath. Nothing happened. Then his phone vibrated. Task completed. Another deposit appeared instantly. For $1,000. Ethan's stomach tightened. Someone had been watching him. The next day, he tried ignoring the messages, but that night a new task arrived. Task number 2: go to locker 214 at South Station. Remove the envelope. Deliver it to room 808 at Harborview Motel. Do not open it. Payment, $8,000. Ethan knew he should stop, yet the promise of money pulled him deeper. At South Station, he opened locker 214 and found a plain white envelope. While leaving, he noticed a man in a gray coat watching him from across the hall. The stranger smiled. Not friendly. Knowing. Rain poured across the city as Ethan arrived at Harborview Motel. The building looked abandoned except for a glowing vacancy sign. Room 808 stood at the end of a dark hallway. Ethan knocked. A woman's voice whispered from inside. "Leave it on the floor." He placed the envelope down. The door slammed shut immediately. Task completed. $8,000 transferred. Relief lasted only seconds. From inside room 808 came a scream. Then another. Muffled. Terrified. Ethan backed away in horror before turning and running through the storm. When he finally reached home, a new message waited on his screen. Task number 3 available. This time, there were no instructions. Only a photograph. A picture of Ethan sleeping inside his apartment. And beneath it, a single sentence. "You are doing very well." After the photograph appeared on his phone, Ethan barely slept. Every sound outside the apartment made him look toward the windows. He kept wondering how the organization had entered his home without him noticing. The next morning, his roommate Tyler immediately noticed something was wrong. "You look terrible," Tyler said. "Just tired," Ethan answered quickly. He almost confessed everything, but the story sounded insane even inside his own head. Later that afternoon, another notification arrived. Task number 3: board the Green Line train at exactly 7:15 p.m. Sit in the last car. Leave when instructed. Payment, $15,000. That evening, Ethan entered the subway station surrounded by exhausted commuters. The train arrived with a metallic screech, and he sat alone near the back of the final car. 3 stations passed. Then his phone buzzed. Exit at the next stop. Take the black backpack beneath the bench. The platform was nearly empty when Ethan stepped off. Under a bench rested a heavy black backpack. He picked it up carefully. Another message appeared. Do not open it. Take it home. Halfway back to the apartment, curiosity overwhelmed him. He slipped into a dark alley and slowly unzipped the bag. Inside were stacks of cash. Thousands upon thousands of dollars. Beneath the money rested a handgun. Ethan immediately zipped the backpack shut. A black car suddenly turned into the alley, with its headlights pointed directly at him. The passenger window rolled down slightly. A distorted voice spoke through a speaker. "You opened the bag." Ethan froze. "I didn't take anything," he said nervously. Silence followed. Then the voice replied, "Complete the next task correctly, and your mistake will be ignored." The window rolled up. The car disappeared into the night. Back at the apartment, Tyler questioned Ethan again. "You've been acting weird all week," he said. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." Ethan snapped in frustration. "I said I'm fine." Tyler stepped back in surprise. Before Ethan could apologize, his phone vibrated once more. Task number for tomorrow. 1 a.m. Pier 19. Come alone. Fog covered the harbor the following night. Pier 19 stretched into black water beneath dim lights. Near the edge stood the same man in the gray coat Ethan had seen at South Station. "You've done well," the stranger said calmly. "Who are you people?" Ethan demanded. "We look for desperate individuals," the man replied. "You're criminals. Everyone becomes something when enough money is involved." The stranger handed Ethan a small silver key. "One final task remains. What happens if I quit?" The man's expression turned cold. "You already know too much." A distant ship horn echoed across the harbor. For 1 second Ethan looked toward the water. When he turned back, the stranger had vanished. Only the silver key remained in Ethan's hand. On the side, engraved in tiny numbers, 808. Ethan spent the next day trying to convince himself not to continue. But fear trapped him. The organization knew where he lived, who his friends were, and how to reach him at any moment. Near midnight, a final message arrived. Final task returned to Harborview Motel. Room 808. Use the key. Enter alone. Rain hammered the streets as Ethan drove across the city. The motel looked even more abandoned than before. Half the lights no longer worked, and the hallway outside room 808 was silent. With trembling hands, Ethan unlocked the door. Inside waited complete darkness. The room smelled like dust and mildew. Suddenly, the television flickered on by itself. Static filled the screen before security footage appeared. Ethan watched himself completing every task. Riverside Park. South Station. The subway platform. Pier 19. Someone had recorded his every movement. A distorted voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Congratulations, Ethan. You passed the evaluation." "What evaluation?" he asked. "We study people. We discover how far desperation can push them." Ethan backed toward the door. "You manipulated me, but you accepted the money," the voice answered calmly. A bathroom door slowly creaked open. Inside sat a man tied to a chair. Bruised, bleeding, terrified. It was the businessman Ethan had seen earlier on the subway. The prisoner struggled desperately against the ropes. "What is this?" Ethan whispered. A drawer beneath the television slid open automatically. Inside rested a handgun. The voice continued. "One final choice remains. Stay silent, walk away, and your account receives $250,000. A screen lit up beside the television. Balance available, $250,000. Then new images appeared. Photos of Tyler. Photos of Ethan's parents. Photos of his university. "If you contact authorities," the voice said, "everyone connected to you suffers consequences." The prisoner tried speaking through the tape over his mouth. Ethan slowly picked up the gun. His hand shook violently. The organization had been guiding him toward this moment from the beginning. Small tasks, small compromises, until morality became blurred. Finally, Ethan lowered the weapon. "No!" Silence filled the room. Then the voice replied, "Wrong answer." Every light suddenly shut off. Darkness swallowed the motel room. Ethan heard footsteps moving toward him. Closer, closer. Then a whisper directly beside his ear. "You should have taken the money." Ethan woke up in a hospital 3 days later. His ribs ached, his vision blurred, and doctors told him harbor police had discovered him unconscious near Pier 19. "What happened to the motel?" Ethan asked immediately. The doctor looked confused. "There is no motel near Pier 19. Cold fear spread through Ethan's chest. After leaving the hospital, he searched online for Harborview Motel. Nothing existed. No records. No address. No room 808. It was as if the entire building had vanished. Back at the apartment, Tyler handed Ethan his phone. "You should check your bank account," he said carefully. Ethan opened the app. Balance, $0. Every mysterious payment had disappeared. All transaction history was erased. For weeks, Ethan tried rebuilding his normal life. He returned to classes, worked extra hours at the bookstore, and avoided thinking about the organization. But strange things continued happening. Sometimes he noticed the same black car parked across the street. Sometimes strangers stared at him too long on the subway. And every night before sleeping, Ethan checked his phone, just in case another message appeared. Months later, during a heavy snowstorm, Ethan closed the bookstore alone. The bell above the entrance suddenly rang. A man in a gray coat walked inside. Ethan froze immediately. The stranger approached the counter and placed a red marker beside the register, the exact same kind Ethan had hidden beneath the bench months earlier. "You dropped this," the man said calmly. "What do you want?" Ethan whispered. The stranger smiled slightly. "Relax. This isn't a task." "Then why are you here?" "Because you were one of the few who refused." Snow blew violently outside the windows. The stranger slid a black business card across the counter. No logo. No name. Only a phone number. "In difficult times," the man said quietly, "people often reconsider their decisions." He turned toward the exit. Before leaving, he stopped beside the door. "One day you'll understand that everyone has a price." Then he disappeared into the snow. Ethan stared at the black card for several seconds. Finally, he turned it over. Written on the back were 4 simple words. Task number 1 available. At that exact moment, his phone vibrated. Unknown deposit, $2,000. This time, Ethan didn't delete the message.